Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_. Thought I could beat that sneeze, but I couldn't. Daddy. You know, when I watched that Bears game, I said yesterday that Bears are going to win. It sucks. I wish it wasn't true. Maybe it won't happen, but it just is what it is. They're going to win. And look, the Bears handle business. It's similar to any other game. You look at it and it's like, yeah, you still suck. But, you did your job, did what you had to do. Later on in the season, somebody's going to expose you. Like, I really didn't think Caleb had that good of a game. He threw to wide open guys. He threw a horrific pick. He threw a pass into the side of his teammate's helmet. Not like Justin Fields did, where the guy was a little bit away from him. I mean, his hand basically smacked the guy in the face. It was the dumbest crap I've ever seen in my life. But then it dawned on me, as I'm sitting there saying, yeah, well, that's what happens when you play the 32nd ranked pass defense, blah, 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 blah. The bottom line is, though, I'm not going to say the Cardinals are the worst team in football. They're not as bad as the Jaguars. But they're not a good team. And there are serious flaws that can be exposed. And the bottom line is, the Bears needed to handle business. And a lot of the NFC North has been facing relatively easy opponents. Not every single week, but the last couple weeks, Packers, the Bears the last 3 weeks, I think the Vikings, I can't really remember. I know Detroit, every time I look at it, I just go, they're going to freaking win. Detroit playing Dallas, which is happening in a few minutes for me, is one of the closest that I've seen in a little bit of a while here, and I still think Detroit's going to win. But the bottom line is, I came into this game saying, you know what? If I'm going to sit here and have that attitude toward the Bears, that it's not a big deal because it's not a good team, and all you did was not suck for a day, and this is exactly what happened, that's the expectation I need to have for the Packers, and it was. I came into the game and I said, listen, it's basically what I've been saying anyways, but listen, this team is worse than you. This team does not have good run defense. They don't have a good defense, period. They don't have pass rush. They don't have corners. There's some things to admire on offense. Their quarterback has some attributes. Again, do we need to have an absolute panic attack about Kyler and all that he was able to do? Is everybody okay now? Can we calm down? But, he has a 20-plus yard run every game. At least he used to. I don't think, what did he have, was his longest like 7 maybe? There's a couple things. There's a rookie wide receiver who's, Marvin Harrison. But the bottom line is you just have to show up and you have to win. And you honestly should win convincingly. And it was going to be kind of messy if we won by like a field goal, because I would have come in here and the attitude would have been, yay, we won. But honestly, I've had enough of this. Like, I'm tired of it. You have to just win some of these games convincingly. As bad teams, if you want to play a competent team and it's close, or a good team that I'm definitely okay with close, at some point you got to square up against a bad team and just laugh in their face, beat the crap out of them, and move on to next week. And I was a little nervous on that first drive. It did not go very well. Jordan, I don't think completed, or he completed, I think, one pass, but he threw just one good pass out of his first 5, 6, 7, or whatever it was, and I was nervous. But after that, it was basically a bad first drive. The defense was dominant, 3 and out, and it was just over from there. Right? I think it took Jordan a couple more passes to get going. I was a little bit nervous about the offense for a little bit of a while, but once it got going, it just didn't stop. And then, and I'm sure a lot of people see, the Cardinals beat themselves, and yeah, the Cardinals played a terrible game. Not everything was terrible. They ran the ball well. That Conner guy is an absolute brute. Like, I've got him on my team. I knew he's a good running back, but watching him is a whole different thing, man. That guy is a monster. I don't think Kyler was particularly bad. He missed that throw that probably would have been a touchdown if he, got a little bit more under it. Those things aren't guaranteed. It really was mostly just penalties. That was the biggest thing. There was the one fumble that was their fault. The other two were I believe, generated by the Packers. I know Evan Williams punched the other one out. Brooks punched the other one out. But again, like that doesn't really dissuade. It doesn't bother me. It's not like, well, it still doesn't count because it wasn't the Cardinals at their best. No, that's the point. The Cardinals are a bad football team. And my whole point is, if you show up and if you do your job and if you play a clean game, you're going to win. And you largely believe that because the other team is going to beat themselves. Let the other team be the team that makes the mistakes. Let the other team be the team that every time they have a good play, it goes backwards. Because that's been us all year. So for the first time, it felt good to be the team that just feels like they know what they're doing. Everything was working outside of Narveson, which, I mean, it's not like any of us expected him to be good anyways. I know there were a couple people who were like, well, there was a plant leg thing. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we'll see. Sounds great. But yeah, outside of that guy who should have been cut and replaced a long time ago, everything was working. I mean, you could point out a couple nitpicky things. I think the run blocking really fell apart down the stretch. I don't know why. There was somebody in the backfield constantly. It was super annoying. But Jordan looked great. Again, outside of that start, I thought he looked fantastic. The only nitpicky thing I would say is he has a tendency to constantly be doing that fadeaway thing. And I know sometimes there's pressure, but sometimes there isn't really. And he just keeps like doing the fadeaway, and then throws it. Bro, plant your feet and then step into the throw. I don't know why you're doing that. And it almost was a disaster on that Ben Sims thing, but Ben Sims made an incredible catch, turned around, and got down the field. Sims had a great day, but the passing game was there. The receivers pretty much all stepped up. Wicks didn't have a huge role, but even in the little sample size that we saw of him, he did go out with an injury. There was another play that Wicks didn't make the play, but I think it was more on Jordan. That was kind of early on. Some people were upset that it should have been a penalty or whatever. At first I was, but I just don't think, even if he didn't like arm bar him, Wicks could not have gotten through him to the other side to get the football. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. The one time we saw Wicks, I believe that he caught a pass, we got to see that yards after the catch thing that I've been talking about. Put a move on a guy and getting past people and getting a big pickup, I think for a first down. He's a talented guy. We gotta get that connection going because Jordan to Wicks is just really not working right now. But I thought, again, in the very limited amount that we saw them, thought it was pretty good. And then you got all the other guys, right? Jaden Reed, again, gets off to a hot start, gets the touchdown, gets all these plays, and you think, here we go with the Jaden Reed thing. Then Romeo Doubs gets a touchdown. Then Christian Watson gets a touchdown. Then Romeo gets another. And all of a sudden, it's like, I haven't seen Jaden in a while. They try like another end around. That doesn't go anywhere. Suddenly, he's like our third best receiver on this day. Maybe fourth after Ben Sims. I'm kind of kidding. No, but it just worked. And again, I thought the run game looked good. There was, a period of time where the run blocking really was a problem. But there was some real hard running from Josh Jacobs that we saw. Emmanuel Wilson looked fantastic. We even had Brooks come in and break off a couple really nice runs to kind of close out the game. He looked fantastic. I know there were a couple blocking issues. I got a peek at some of the grades. I know Tucker Kraft really struggled in this game, especially as a blocker. A few other guys, Jordan Morgan was back. He did not look particularly good. As far as the offensive lineman, he had our lowest run blocking and pass. These aren't official grades, but they're the preliminary lowest run blocking and pass blocking. But, again, these are nitpicky things that overall it looked good. And then there's the defense. This might be the first time I watched a defense that is not reliant on turnovers. And they had a lot. Don't get me wrong, but this is not a time when I look at it and go, yeah, but if it wasn't for those 3 turnovers, it would have been bad. No, they did a good job stopping the run pretty much all day. There were, again, a couple really big, strong runs, but really it wasn't bad. They contained the quarterback really well. They contained the run really well. Against the pass, they were phenomenal. Gave up a couple passes here and there, but the pass rush was there today. Kyler was constantly under pressure, and when he got under pressure, he was able to escape. I'm not worried about the fact that there were no sacks because he was able to escape. At least I don't think there were any sacks. But then even when he breaks the pocket, there's really nowhere for him to go. We had multiple punch-outs. PFF said Jair didn't have one. I could swear he absolutely did. I don't know what they're looking at. Evan Williams was unbelievable in this game. Keyshawn also had a pass breakup. Remember, those two guys had pass breakups early. We had punch-outs from Brooks. We had punch-outs from Williams. Williams is all over the place. He also almost made a play on a throw to the end zone, but it was just a bad ball anyways, but he was right there to make a play. Evan Williams just continuing to look like an absolute stud. I think, There's one guy that kind of bothered me in this game. It was Quay, but even he came up and made a play at the end and broke up a pass. Looked really, really good on that play. Edgerrin looked like a stud again. Bullard, there were a couple iffy things here and there, but he was all over the place. He was making plays. I know at the beginning, Kenny was the lowest graded defender on the team, but he started showing up later on. He didn't improve his grade all that much, but he ended up getting a pressure. Again, preliminary grades, he ended up with 1 pressure. By the way, 12 pressures in this game. Rashawn had 4. So Rashawn has arisen. 26 pressure attempts, 4 pressures on 26 attempts. That's a heck of a good day. Heck of a motor carriage. Andy Bernard, right? Right, guys? I don't want to spend too much time going through the preliminary grades, but I can't help it. I'm staring at it, and it's like I just... Anyways. Fantastic game. Just all the way around. That's the 4-quarter game. Again, I don't think it was elite. I'm not asking for elite. It was a lot of just play 4 quarters and let the other team beat themselves. Take advantage of the opportunities presented to you. I mean, honestly, what was massively elite in this game? I wouldn't necessarily say there was anything. I think everybody just did their job. I think Watson did a good job. I think Doubs did a good job. I think Reed and Jordan and the offensive line and everybody else. In fact, if I look at it, only one guy got an elite grade so far. It's Carl Brooks. It seems to just be based on that one play, because his run defense grade, tackling grade, pass rush grade, coverage grade, which wasn't in coverage at all of them mediocre. So clearly that one play was everything. But there was nobody that was elite. Evan Williams and Edgerrin Cooper got the next 2 highest grades. I love those guys that get excited. I'm sorry. Oh, my Lord, you trash heap. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching the stupid Dallas game. Never mind. Whatever. Jared Goff, you suck, and it ended up being complete. I hate you. By the way, I'm just because I have to. Evan Williams in week 4, he didn't play very much, but 10 snaps, 81 PFF grade. Week 5, they let him stay out there, 78 snaps, 82 PFF grade. Week 6, he was out there 38 snaps, which is kind of weird. I'm guessing with the corners back, they rotated the safeties, whatever. Preliminary grade, 83.4. 81, 82, 83.4. By the way, if that grade holds, his grade as a rookie safety right now is an 87. He may be the highest graded safety outside of... he and McKinney might actually be number 1 and 2. We'll have to see. I don't know. Crazy. 84 coverage grade. My goodness. And as for Mr. Edgerrin Cooper, again, he had a little bit of a rough patch there. Although, so week 1, he had an 86 grade. Week 2 was 57, but he played 7 snaps. Then he played 18, it was a 65. Week 4 was the one kind of bad game. 21 snaps, 41 grade. Last week, 85.5. This week, 82.1. 78.5 is currently his grade, if that holds. We have 2 rookie players, in Edgerrin Cooper and Evan Williams, rocking 80 PFF grades right now. It's not easy getting an 80 PFF. It's just not. Really good. That's the kind of thing you expect from guys like Jair, Xavier, Rashawn, Kenny, whatever. Like not saying you necessarily expect that right now. I understand there's issues, but if anybody's going to have it, it's those types of guys that get it. Your run-of-the-mill players are not getting that kind of stuff. And 3 straight games with 80s, I got to go back and look. I can't tell you who the last guy. Like Devontae Adams or something. Like that's not something that people do. If you add it together, it's 5 games, right? You got Edgerrin and Evan Williams the last 2 games. That's 4, and then Evan Williams goes back 1 more. That's ridiculous. I'm excited. I tell you what. Let's take a break. We'll take a step back. We'll look at some of the stats because they're out of control. I don't know. I don't know if I want to. I'm not going to do any more grades. I'm not. I want to. But then I'm going to have to go back tomorrow and compare and say, like, well, here's what I said yesterday, and this was... We'll just leave it, all right? Maybe a little bit here, maybe a little bit there, but we're going to leave it alone. I'm going to stop now. I need to stop. I'm just excited. Just excited. All right, one more thing. The defense is improving at the same time that the defense is learning who the players are going to be. What do I mean by that? They just learned about Evan Williams. Not that they didn't know how good he was or anything like that, but they just learned that he's officially the guy. Like if we put him in that spot, he can do the job. And he is officially taking that. Now, that's not necessarily full-time. Again, now that we've seen that they've started to switch some guys out, we'll take a look at the full snap counts and all that kind of stuff. Bullard did outsnap him, but I think he played a lot of safety and slot, so he was kind of doing double duty on that. But also, Adrian Cooper just outsnapped Isaiah McDuffie, and by a pretty wide margin. Adrian Cooper was tied for the 7th most snaps at 38. He actually tied Evan Williams and Rashawn Gary in snaps. McDuffie had 26. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 6th lowest amount of snaps, and that includes Corey Ballantyne, who had 1 snap. So of guys that actually played, it was like the 5th lowest amount of snaps. So McDuffie's being phased out for Adrian Cooper, and we're seeing the positive results. We got Jair, which obviously is massive for this defense. It's a huge, again, they can open up the playbook. They can do a lot more stuff. They can bring more pressures. It immediately helps the pass rush, which is fantastic. Bro, Dak is so garbage. Dak, you pile of absolute garbage. Oh, the Lions are going to win, whatever. Yeah, Mike. How good you feeling about the fact that you guys just paid him, huh? My lordy. But, I mean, the picture is really coming together. I'm a little sad Quay is still the number 1 guy, but maybe that'll change. Keyshawn outsnapped Jair. They really like Keyshawn a lot. And it paid off. He had a good game. All right, anyways, enough of that. Bottom line is things are coming together, right? They've moved Keyshawn out to the boundary. They've discovered that it works better. They've discovered what they can do with Bullard. Again, Jair just overall helps everything. They've got Edgerrin. They've got Williams. They're kind of phasing out the old, phasing in the new. And at the same time as they're learning who's the best and where and how, these guys are also getting better, and you're reaping the rewards. Maybe I'm overstating it. Maybe next week things will be back to the way they were, but we saw a big jump, in my opinion, from this defense. Again, in my opinion, this is the first time I watched a defense that was just flat out good. Not like they kind of got the crap beat out of them, but there was a ton of picks, so it ended up working out. No, like there were a ton of turnovers, and it didn't matter. Without the turnovers, it was still a really good defensive performance. Anyways, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll look at some of the stats, stuff like that, all the good stuff. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Also, again, big shout out to everybody that joined me over on the Substack chat. I try to be as active on there as I can, but I was also Mr. Mom. I had all these. I was making chip dip. I was making chicken bacon ranch sandwiches, little sliders. Those were really good. That and like marching back and forth, high fives, all that stuff. I tried to stay in there, but it's good when there's a lot of people in there. It's a good time. Couple little tidbits that I've picked up just perusing the Twitters here. First of all, I thought this was funny. Chris Jackie, Chris, you know who he is. He says, if Narveson is struggling with 49-degree temps, well, it might get worse. Bro, if you're getting roasted by former Packers kickers, I don't know. It's funny. And then this from Wes Hodkowitz. This is the first time a Packers quarterback has thrown for 4+ touchdowns in a consecutive home game since Brett Favre 29 years ago. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a crazy stat. You know how many games Hall of Fame quarterbacks have played over 29 years? A lot of games. Let me just sneak this in here. A lot of talk about Romeo Doubs. I'm not trying to be overly negative here. Just, because everybody's having a big parade because everybody hugged Doubs after a touchdown, which, yeah, that's great. I think, look, the general takeaway seems to be that really goes to show what the team thinks about Romeo Doubs. Yeah. I mean, they're celebrating with Doubs. I mean, listen, it would have to be significantly worse than I thought if they didn't celebrate with Doubs. Let's start with that. I never thought, and I'm assuming most people didn't think it was so bad that everybody would just ignore him if he scored a touchdown. Because that would be crazy. That's number one. Number two, the issue is less about the receivers and how they feel toward Doubs and more about Doubs and how he feels toward the team. And I don't mean his teammates necessarily. I mean the team, the organization as a whole. The only reason I say that is, look, I think now that this situation has happened, he's going to be scrutinized more. And I know Doubs, it's kind of like, well, Doubs has always been kind of standoffish. It's like, yeah, but now I have a different view of him being like that. A lot of times I saw him with this, like, don't talk to me kind of attitude. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it seems more pronounced than in the past, but maybe I'm just feeling that way. I don't know. He scored a touchdown, walked off, didn't acknowledge Matt LaFleur. After the game, just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Again, he's always kind of been that way. But yeah, I'm going to scrutinize it a little bit more. I want to see him happy. I want to see any kind of emotion other than a look on his face that says, I hate this. I hate this and I hate you. Because look, there is an issue, and I don't know what the issue is, but I'm positive it's not just resolved. So yeah, I'm glad that his teammates didn't ignore him after a touchdown and they celebrated with him. That's good. I'm happy about that. And I have no doubt that Romeo loves his teammates and that the teammates love him and all that stuff. That's great. I don't know how Romeo feels about Matt LaFleur. I don't know how Romeo feels about being a Green Bay Packer. I don't know how he feels about a lot of the other things that are going on in Green Bay. But with that said, I had mentioned before the game, I hope that this is a big game for him. I hope that he goes out and shows everybody, which is what he needs to do, go out and show everybody that you are the number one. You are the guy that deserves the contract. That's what you have to do, and that's what he did. And he had a great game. And I'm just hopeful that he's happy. You know what I mean? Like this is what needed to happen. This is the only way that this heals. Everybody moves on. And by the way, you can't say like I'm moving on and then continue to just ignore the coach and give him cold shoulder or whatever. I'm not definitively saying he was doing that, but Matt LaFleur, he's hugging all his wide receiver friends and all that. Matt LaFleur comes over to like congratulate him. He didn't even make eye contact with him. I feel like we should make an effort here to make an effort. I understand that you have a certain personality type, but sometimes you have to work through stuff. Sometimes there are things that you do that you could do better and that you need to improve on, and I think that's one of the things that you need to improve on. But again, this is what needed to happen. And so I'm hopeful that Romeo is happy and that he's motivated and he feels like, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that if I continue playing this way, that I am going to get that contract and I do want to play for the Pack. Like that's where we need to be heading. So, look, I'm excited because this is a heck of a wide receiver group, and I'm not saying this because I want to be down on Romeo. I'm saying this because this needs to be our wide receiver group, and there's a problem, and I don't know what it is, but it needs to be fixed. And as far as I'm concerned, it is fixed, but the only problem is Romeo, and I need Romeo to be okay. It's not like the team just turned on Romeo. Romeo turned on the team. So I'm hopeful that he can get over that and get through that and work on whatever it is that needs to be worked on. I would like to see him have any sort of emotion toward really anybody. I understand, again, he hugged the people back that came and hugged him. If I could just see him make eye contact with Matt LaFleur once, that would be progress. Jeez, now Jake Ferguson drops a ball that just hits him in the hands. This team just does not want to win. It's ridiculous. All right, anyways, moving on off of that situation, let's take a look at some of the statistics. So first of all, the NFL Pro has the win probability throughout the game. The closest the Cardinals ever came to winning was after Jordan Love threw an incomplete pass on a 3rd and 5 in the first quarter with 13 minutes left. So presumably that was the first drive there, and the Packers had a 60% chance of winning after that. That was the closest the Cardinals came to winning. 40%. That was their best, and it was just all downhill from there. Packers are up to 92% by the start of the second quarter. That's a beating. Jordan Love, 22 of 33, 258 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. The interception was not his fault. He was throwing just a nice, easy, quick out route. Bo Melton slipped and fell. Defender was right there to pick it up. 68.8% completion percentage, 119.5 passer rating, 8.1 yards per attempt. Josh Jacobs, 18 attempts, 62 yards, just 3.4 yards per carry. I really hate that. He has these big runs. Everything's looking good. And then there's always this period of time where we're running him and he's just getting hit and hit and hit and hit and hit. And that average just plummets. It's like, dang it, man. He's doing so good. It's not even his fault, but it's like his numbers look so good, and then it just gets ruined. However, we had Emmanuel Wilson, only 7 attempts, but 54 yards, which is 7.7 yards per attempt. Bo Melton, 2 carries, 27 yards. Brooks, 4 carries, 21 yards, 5.3 yards per attempt. Jordan Love had 5 carries for 13 yards, which as in yards per carry is quite low, but still 5 attempts is a lot for Jordan. And some critical runs for him as well. Tucker Kraft, just 1 attempt for 2 yards. And Jaden Reed, 1 attempt for 0 yards. That Tucker Kraft play, by the way, if you're struggling to remember what the heck that was when he ran under center to pick up a first down. It was not beautiful. It didn't work the way it was designed to work, but we got the first down, so all is right with the world. Let's see. Can I sort these? I can. Let's sort by targets here. So the most targeted wide receiver was Jaden Reed. 6 targets, 6 receptions, 28 yards, and a touchdown. Didn't quite get the production that you wanted out of that, but 6 targets, 6 receptions is a good day. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Tucker Kraft tied for 4. Christian Watson with the most yards, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown, 22.7 yards per reception. 44 yards was the longest. 16 yards after contact, or after the catch, maybe. Yeah, after the catch. Romeo Doubs, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 49 yards, 2 touchdowns, 16.3 yards per attempt. 20 yards was his longest. Tucker Kraft, 4 targets, 2 receptions, 13 yards. Josh Jacobs getting a little bit more involved in the passing game and pretty successful as well. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 28 yards, 9.3 yards per reception. Dontavian Wicks, 3 targets, just 1 reception for 9 yards. Again, it was a nice yards after the catch thing, but that connection still is just not there. I guess I'm glad that he was targeted less. He did come out of the game, but still, the connection isn't there. We need to kind of start looking in other directions, so I think we were more successful looking in other directions. Bo Melton, 2 targets, 1 reception, 6 yards. Emmanuel Wilson, 2 targets, 1 reception, 19 yards. Ben Sims had a big day, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 38 yards. And then Beck, fullback apparently, I don't freaking know. I think he was just the guy that got called up, but he had 1 target, 0 receptions. So welcome to the game there, Beck. On the other side, Kyler Murray, 22 of 32, exact same as Jordan Love, for 214, very similar to Jordan Love. 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He ran 7 times for just 14 yards. So not only did he not have a 20-yard carry in this game, he didn't have 20 yards total in this game. 2 yards per carry, 5 yards was his longest. We good? Are we good? All right. On the defensive side, tackle leader was Quay Walker, 10 tackles and 1 assist. After that, you had Javon Bullard with 6, Edgerrin Cooper 5 and 2 assisted tackles, and then it's all down from there. Interceptions, we had 0. However, 2 forced fumbles, again, Carl Brooks, Evan Williams, 3 fumble recoveries, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 by Quay Walker, 1 by the one and only Evan Williams. Quarterback hits, again, were registered at 0. They didn't really get their hands on them, but they were very disruptive in this game. Again, preliminary from PFF has 12 pressures in this game, and they also do register a hit from Rashawn Gary, but strangely, NFL Pro disagrees. Usually NFL Pro is much more, I guess maybe not on hits, but on pressures. So maybe they'll have even more pressures. I don't know. Oh, whatever, dude. Good. I'm glad. Just Lions just beat Dallas. It's fine. I'm glad Dallas is pathetic. I'm glad they suck, and I'm glad they're not even going to make it to the playoffs because they're such a joke. My goodness. A couple of the insights from the game from NFL Pro. Packers wide receivers recorded 3 touchdowns on just 12 targets when aligned in the slot against the Cardinals, tied for the most such touchdowns in a game this season. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed all recorded a receiving touchdown when aligned in the slot, though each recorded just 1 such target, entering the afternoon slate. Packers wide receivers have recorded 8 touchdowns from the slot alignment this season, tied for most in the NFL. So a lot of success moving guys in the slot. Matt LaFleur doing a fantastic job finding ways to scheme guys open, and obviously he's having a lot of success with that alignment for whatever reason. Despite generating their second highest pressure rate, 34.3%, in a game this season, the Cardinals defense failed to record a single sack against the Packers. their second game without a sack this season. The Cardinals allowed 6 completions on 11 attempts when generating pressure, totaling 97 yards and a touchdown. Entering the afternoon slate, the Cardinals have recorded a 2.95-second average time to pressure this season, longest in the NFL. Jordan Love was most productive as a passer on dropbacks over 2.5 seconds, finishing 11 of 17 for 174 yards and 3 touchdowns, with a positive 2% CPOE in his 34-13 win over the Cardinals. Love was not sacked on any of his 12 pressures. Love was successful on 60% of his dropbacks and generated a 19.3 EPA on dropbacks, his highest success rate and most dropback EPA in a game of his career. 3 of his 4 touchdowns targeted a receiver outside the numbers to the right side of the field. Can I highlight these? I cannot. We'll flip over to PFF to get some of the team stats. NFL Pro does not have that. Time of possession. The Packers won 36.5 minutes to 23.5 minutes. Packers ran 70 plays for 437 yards compared to 55 for 303. Packers are 6.2 yards per play compared to 5.5. Penalties, the Packers had 5 for 40, while the Cardinals had 13 for 100. This is one of the least penalized teams in the NFL that had doubled their entire, I think they had 17 coming into the game or something. They had 13 in this game, almost doubled their penalties. But look, to be clear, not only was it sloppy, which is good, right? Let them be the sloppy ones for once. Part of it is because of the Packers. Part of the holding is because our guys are getting past them, right? There was a play that was like, oh man, we stopped him on third, but of course it's another penalty. Right, the reason you stopped him is because you held Romeo Doubs, who wasn't able to run his route and come wide open. Part of the reason, I'm not saying the entire reason, there were a lot of mental mistakes in this game. Part of the reason that they made so many mistakes is because of the Packers. It was Jordan Love that got him to jump off sides. It was the pass rush that caused a lot of the holds. It was wide receivers running routes that they couldn't cover that caused a lot of holds down the field. Packers had 4 touchdowns compared to 1. Field goals, 2 for 3 compared to 2 for 2. Turnovers, they turned it over. Well, they fumbled 4 times, apparently. I don't even remember that. Oh, that's right. It was the special teams play. They fumbled 4 times and gave it away 3 times. Packers turned the ball over just that 1 time. Both quarterbacks exactly 22 of 33. Covered that already. Passing touchdowns 4-1. Neither quarterback sacked. I wonder how many games are 0 sacks in the game. That's pretty rare. Team carries. Packers ran the ball 38 times for 179 yards, 4.7 yards per attempt. Cardinals ran 23 times, 89 yards, 3.9 yards per attempt. First downs, we had 27 compared to their 16. Penalty first downs, strangely, both teams just 3. Third down conversions, Packers were 7 of 12, which is 58%. Cardinals were 4 of 10, 40%. Fourth downs, Packers are 1 for 1. Cardinals didn't try any. Red zone, Packers are 2 of 4, 50%. The Cardinals 1 of 3. Passes defended, Cardinals won 5-2. And I don't super care about the special teams thing. I will make one comment about the special teams thing. I really was uncomfortable with Jaden Reed the entire time. Every time he touched it, it didn't seem like he was really doing anything. He refused to go forward. He doesn't look as elusive. There's nothing really special there. And all I thought the whole time was, would you just go down? You're dancing around so much. There's so many people are on that ball. Somebody's going to punch it out. And it finally happened. And then we got lucky. And there was a penalty on them. And so it ended up being, they had to re-kick it or whatever. And what do? We put Keyshawn out there. What does he do? The first time he gets a punt, he has a big return. It's like, he's our return guy. I understand that you like him more as a kick returner and you really like Reed as a punt returner, whatever the case is. Look, I know Keyshawn's important. So is Jaden Reed. I think Keyshawn should just be doing it. I don't like the Reed thing. It's never really yielded results. Keyshawn is clearly better. Let's just do what works. All right. We talked about snap counts a little bit. A few other things. First of all, on offense, Tucker Kraft, outside of the quarterback and offensive line, had the most snaps. So again, Tucker's just that dude. They don't want him to ever come off the field, ever. After that was Romeo Doubs. He had 54 snaps on offense. After that was Josh Jacobs, then Christian Watson, then Jaden Reed. Dontavian Wicks obviously came out with an injury, but Romeo Doubs outsnapped all the other wide receivers by a decent margin. 10 more snaps than Christian. and 15 more snaps than Jaden Reed. And again, on the defensive side, Bullard outsnapped Williams, so I think, Bullard is kind of the still pulling rank a little bit on Williams. By that, I mean he's the slot guy, and then when it's two corners, I think Bullard is largely the one going back to safety. At least that's the way it seems to me based on these snap counts. He was only off the field on 4 snaps. That's it. So McKinney, Nixon, and Walker played every snap. Bullard only missed 4, and then it drops down to Jair 46 compared to 58 for the every snap folks. I don't know if Jair came out with an injury or what. Maybe they're getting him on a pitch count a little bit, coming off injury. I don't know. Kenny 44, Rashawn 38, Williams 38, Edrin Cooper 38, Preston 30, Brooks 29, Kingsley 27, McDuffie 26, Van Ness 26, Wooden 19, Slayton 18, Stokes 16, Wilson 14, Corey Ballantyne 1. So don't want to overreact too much to a lot of these snap counts because as we've seen, it seems to change from week to week. It probably depends on who you're lined up against. For example, Van Ness outsnapped Preston last week, maybe the last 2 weeks. Preston more so this week. I think there's a lot of matching up based on opponent going on. But we'll continue to monitor it week to week, see how she goes. Bottom line is, though, whatever they're doing, it's working. And, obviously, let's also state the obvious here. The team is better when it's healthy, right? The defense is better when Jair is on it. The offense is better when Doubs and Christian are on it, and Jordan and everybody. Like it just go figure, right? So let's stay healthy. Let's regroup after a 4-quarter solid victory and get ready as the schedule starts to turn a little bit more difficult. Because with this impending Lions win, which looks to be almost a certainty before even halftime, it looks like the NFC North dominance continues, with the worst record in the NFC North being a 4-way tie at 4-2. Again, a lot of not super great teams, but it doesn't matter, right? These teams are getting it done. And in order to consistently beat up on the bad teams, you presumably have to be one of the good teams, right? Or at least better than the crap team you're going up against. So, going to be a battle, probably a good thing, right? You're going to be battle-tested by the time you get into the playoffs. It's what a lot of people have commented on. It's not working to your benefit to be beaten up on crap teams all the time, even though the Patriots didn't seem to have much problem with that. But, assuming the Packers get into the playoffs, they've got cut their teeth presumably on some pretty tough games. So we'll take our final break. We'll be right back. Well, I just came back downstairs after a little break. I saw Aiden Hutchinson on the ground, went to social media, found the play. It was hard to see. Like, I didn't see anything. I was like, what the heck happened? I just slowly kept backing it up, and I found the perfect frame. Oh, my goodness. That looks absolutely horrible. I mean, his leg basically wrapped around this other guy's leg. I've never seen anything like that. Like, that's bad. That's bad. He is currently still laying on the field. At least it was before the commercial break, and that was a while ago. Saw him laying on the field, and then went and looked around for a little while. They came back. He's still on the field. Went back to commercials. So, hoping for the best for Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, that's terrible. I mean, it's a rivalry and all that, but I mean, it's awful. Aiden Hutchinson might be the best pass rusher in football right now. I mean, he is on an incredible run. Fantastic football player. There he is getting carted off. But yeah, I think on the TV copy they're refusing to show it because it's bad, which is kind of what got me to want to go back and see what the heck happened. But holy cow. I wouldn't be surprised if they're taking him straight to the hospital because, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, there's multiple. That's broken in multiple places. There's no way a leg wraps around like that without being like shattered. So, they got an air cast on his leg right now. And it sucks too because you're winning 34-6. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they should have pulled him. It's the third quarter. It's the start of the third quarter. The second half just started. So that's not what I'm saying, but it's just everything has been perfect for you. This is a perfect day. It's much like the Packers against the Cardinals, much like the Bears game. I mean, all the NFC North teams are just dominating. I just, that's terrible. But I'm not going to speculate beyond what I've already said, but do hope that he gets back sooner than later. And hopefully he makes a full recovery and can continue playing at a high level. Because this guy is, I don't know. It's terrible. Oh, geez, I just lost somebody else here. This is terrible because you want to just say, like, get him off the field. But again, are we going to pull people at halftime? I guess. I don't know, man. Oh, geez, he got kicked in the head by his own guy. All right. Anyways, sorry. All right, so the plan here is all the press conference and locker room stuff. So I want to go through that, get all the latest updates from them, and then we'll get up out of here. First off, we should probably just do this. After a victory, it's always fun to hear the Matt LaFleur locker room shindig. So let's go ahead and do that.
What we talked about all week. Complimentary football, 4 quarters, from start to finish, man. Give it up for yourself. It's always about the ball. We finished +2 today.
I think they might have missed a naughty word in there, if I'm not mistaken.
We had KB with the forced fumble. Evan Williams with the forced fumble. John Money with the recovery. KB with the recovery. And then Kenny Clark with the recovery. How about K9 setting up a touchdown? Hell of a job, K9. How about our offensive line paving the way? 38 carries, 179 yards. How about my man Jay Love was 22 of 32, 258. Play with that man. Christian Watson with the touchdown. Jay Reed with the touchdown. And how about this guy coming back? Romeo Doubs with 2 touchdowns. That was a great team win.
Let's go back on 3. 1, 2, 3.
So again, it's great. It's great to hear the team get excited. It's great to hear the team get excited about Romeo. I mean, that was when they tried to be the loudest. Of course, the camera briefly pans to Romeo as he stands in the back and just kind of gives a little golf clap, like, yeah, whatever. Again, I know that's his personality. I get it. I think it would be great if he could try to work through that a little bit. But whatever. As long as he can get over whatever the problems are and move on, then we're all good, I guess. So we had quite a bit going on today. A lot of locker room stuff. Jair was at his locker room today. They talked to him, asking him, first of all, 18 takeaways the entire year last year. So far through 6 games, 17. They asked him, what's the difference? He said, well, the difference is guys flying around and we're gelling as a defense. It's kind of a nothing statement in a way, but I also think it's just the right answer. I think the bottom line, when he says guys are flying around the ball, I think there's a comfortability factor. There's a understanding factor. It's knowing where you're supposed to be, knowing where your eyes are supposed to be, and just playing loose. If you're playing stiff and you're playing scared and you're playing on your back foot all the time, constantly just like, oh, shoot, got to go chase that guy. Oh, shoot, look at this guy. Oh, you know what I mean? You're not making as many plays. When you can just relax, know what you're doing, keep your eyes, and just go with the flow, things work out better. Same thing when he says gelling as a defense. It's about all guys kind of working together, working in unison, working in sync. I think that's what it is. And then on top of that, I said, well, is that something that's being coached? And he said, well, it's definitely a point of emphasis, which I said early on. I mean, we saw this even in training camp, where it's like, it was a big emphasis, take the ball away. If you want to be a good defense, you got to win the turnover battle. That's a huge thing, always has been. Everybody already knows that. I appreciate the fact that the guy came in and said, this is something we're going to work on. This is something we are going to get better at. This is something we're going to emphasize. And you immediately see the results. I absolutely appreciate that. He said, do you have to be careful not to rely on takeaways? He said, we're just going 100 miles per hour every play. and we let things figure themselves out. I think that's great. I do, because, it's going to be rocky when you play that way, but hopefully, we see more of what we saw today, which is a defense that kind of just knows what it's supposed to be doing, and it's not just kind of ugly and sloppy with guys kind of making mistakes. Playing 100 miles an hour but going the wrong way isn't the best thing in the world. But as they get a better understanding of what to do, there's hopefully less of the going the wrong direction thing. He's asked about Evan Williams, and he says that guy's been making plays all camp, and now that I think about it, yeah. Do you remember early in camp, he led the team in interceptions? He had like an interception every single training camp. Like it was out of control. Like the defense had a ton of turnovers, tons of interceptions, and Evan Williams had about half of them by himself. So that's true. I mean, basically since the day he showed up, he's been a stud. The other thing is, apparently Jair talked to Romeo Doubs before the game and told him, hey man, you're going to get 2 touchdowns in this game. So that was very cool to have Jair tell him that, and then for him to come down with 2 touchdowns. That's awesome. I believe that was it for the defensive guys. There's Christian, Romeo, Jaden, Jordan, and then head coach Matt LaFleur had a press conference. Obviously, we got to talk about Romeo Doubs. Christian had a good day, but immediately we got to ask Christian about Romeo Doubs. But he just said Romeo got the touchdown. You were the first person there. Was that important for you to be there? The answer essentially was yes. He did say, he doesn't always show it, but I know he's excited. And again, I believe that. But it would just be nice to see it, because the bottom line is, even if it's just, even if I just said, fine, I'm just going to pretend it's not a concern of mine, it's going to be a concern. You know what I mean? It was never a concern for anybody. Everybody just thought that was his personality until he decided, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to show up for work. And it's like, well, maybe there's something more to that, listen, when I listen to him talk at his locker room, it's not just that he's quiet. He's quiet, but he looks like he's about to cry. So, yeah, maybe the right course of action for me would just be to pretend that I'm not... Oh, cat, what are you meowing about? Go away. Pretend that I'm not concerned. Pretend that I'm not worried. Pretend that, it's just his personality or whatever. Maybe that's the right thing to do. But now that it's happened, I'm just saying, I believe, Christian, it would be great if we could see it. Maybe it's going to take a few more games. Maybe it's going to take a while for him to really get jacked up. Maybe he needs that big contract. Maybe he's just never going to do it. I don't know. Just saying, I would love to see the guy crack a smile. That's all. He was asked about when did you know you would be able to play. He basically just said, after missing the game last week, I knew I could play. It was a will thing, and though it might hurt a little bit, I was determined to play. Got a lot of respect for Christian, man. I mean, he went from a guy that I've always liked because, he could burn anybody. Like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of the draft pick. I was kind of indifferent to it. Didn't really think, if anything, it would be kind of a long-term thing. Maybe year 2 or 3, he'd become something. But when I saw him immediately, it was just sort of a, holy crap, this guy's something special. But he struggled with concentration and drops, and I wouldn't necessarily call him a physical guy. Now you look at his blocking, you look at the way he attacks footballs, you look at the way that he fights back and plays through injury when he doesn't have to. We have plenty of weapons. We got Wicks, we got Reed, we got Kraft, we got Doubs back. If he's in pain, he could say he's in pain and he would be out this game. And, we got plenty of speed with Reed and Bo Melton and everything else. We'll be fine. But that's not his mentality. And I very much respect when guys do that kind of stuff. Aside from that, more or less, just said another 4-touchdown game for Jordan. What do you think of his performance today? He's playing great football. As long as I do my job, I know he's going to make the right play in any scenario. Moving on to Jay Reed. First question, very good question, and it's what we've talked about for a while, this whole the wide receiver 1 conversation, which, again, you could argue Jaden Reed is the one, but at the end of the day, what we know is that this is an offense with a bunch of relatively equally talented wide receivers that could, it could be anyone on any day. The question is, how do you feel the defense plays you different when everyone's kind of getting a piece like they did today? The ball's being distributed. What does that do for you up against a defense, I guess? He says, that's the glory of our offense. We got a lot of different playmakers, so defenses have to game plan for that. And that's the thing. It's hard to even game plan for the offense because you don't know what the defense is going to do. Do they want to take away Reed? Are they worried about the tight ends? Are they worried about the run game? What is it that they're concerned about? And if you assume that they're going to be worried about this, I mean, it was funny that I didn't read the answer, but Christian Watson, there was and I don't remember the question, but the answer was essentially, we didn't plan for that play, but we just knew based on the way that our defense was playing us that play would be available. In other words, that play usually in that situation is not a play where you'd throw to Watson. It's a play where they're going to, pull the safety back or whatever, but presumably they're playing a little bit more aggressive. They're kind of leaving that open, and so they just knew that shot play would be there. The point being, in this context, you'd kind of just wait to see how the defense plays you, and maybe that's part of the reason it ends up being a second-half team. Not that that's an excuse. You need to play well no matter what, or start making the right calls, right reads immediately. But it's one of those things where once you find out what the defense is doing, you have an answer. Like, oh, you want to do that? Okay, that's fine. We got an answer for that too. Yes, there's an app for that. Are they going to call back that Sewell touchdown? Let the big man have it. I'm not trying to root for the Lions here or anything, but Penei Sewell had a diving touchdown, and you're going to take that away from him? Just give it to him, man. Who cares? Anyway, sorry. Again, asking Jaden Reed about the defense, 17 takeaways. Did you have a feeling they could do this? And the answer was they were doing it all camp, Like, this didn't start week 1. It started day 1 of training camp. So, yeah, I mean, it's very, very cool to see, and sort of as a counter to my philosophy that, these things do not carry over. And I don't think they're going to be able to maintain this, whether it's this year or the next 3 games or whatever it is. This amount of turnovers is pretty crazy. That doesn't mean that they aren't going to be better at it than a typical team. Or you could say better at it than what we got out of Joe Barry. Romeo Doubs at his locker. Obviously, you can imagine how this went. It's a whole lot of, really pushing him to say certain things. Like asking him the same question over and over again to try to get the answer you want. But essentially the question, what was it like, the embrace with your teammates, et cetera, et cetera? And he did get, they did, I feel like they asked him a bunch of different times, a bunch of different ways, but they did get him to say it was a surreal moment. So they got that out of him. But they did ask him, are you ready to move forward? He said, yeah, nobody wants to see that. I'm ready to move forward, and I got no beef with anybody, which, again, I'm going to take him at his word. That's fine. I will ignore the looks and just say that's how he looks. It's just unfortunate that the look on his face perfectly mimics the look that if you could build that look. If what Romeo did last week was a look, it would be Romeo's look all the time. That's the only thing that's hanging me up here. You know what I mean? But again, I will take his word for it. And I said what needs to happen is he needs to have a big day, and he did have a big day. So I'm hopeful that was the remedy that was needed, and we got it. Oh, and I didn't actually know this. So here's a question that helps ease my mind. It said, as the team was taking a knee, I saw you and the coach hug. What did he say to you? He said he told me, good game, was glad to have me back. There was a lot going on, but I'm just ready to move forward. So it's good to hear that. Of course, somebody asked, did you get a game ball today? He said, I don't think so, but we're striving for success and ready to move forward. So stop causing problems, man. Probably should have given him a game ball, but, stop causing problems. Guess you don't want it to feel too much like pandering, but, I mean, he did earn it, 2 touchdowns today, you know what I mean? You gave him the most snaps of all wide receivers, and he went out and dominated, so I don't know what the problem is. Pandering, placating? Is that the word? I don't know the word, but it's in there somewhere. I do notice a lot of his, and maybe this is always the way he's talked, I don't know, but he really is refusing to answer any questions in any way that could come off even slightly selfish. He deflects everything back to the team, and it's a group effort and all that stuff. Did you get a game ball? We're striving for success. We're moving forward. How much trust does Jordan have in you? It's not just me. He trusts the entire core. What goes through your mind when you realize there's a 50-50 ball? I just have to make a play on the ball to put our offense in a better position. I'm doing it for our offense. Today you handled the ball to the ref after touchdowns. Was it just business with those celebrations? Yeah, we put points on the board. It's a team game, and I was just ready to move forward. Again, I hope it's genuine. I don't know what the deal is with Romeo. Again, when you listen to him answer questions, it sounds like he's going to cry. There's a part of me that just wants to be like, bro, you're an NFL football player and you're really freaking good at it. You're a superstar. You're going to make a bunch of money. You're doing a great, this is awesome. This is a good thing. It's a good thing. I don't know. Whatever. And we had 2 press conferences. We had Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. Not a lot from Romeo Doubs. I mean, again, I struggle with some of the questions because it's questions that everybody knows the answer to. How did it feel to have Romeo back? I mean, good. What do you want me to say? What was it like playing against Chris Barnes when you guys are friends? It's like, I don't know, we're on different teams, so it's like it's different. What does it mean to play like you did today? It's great. Great team effort, played 4 quarters, complimentary football, whatever. How big was it to get Romeo back? It's huge to have him back making plays. How important was it for you to start fast? It's huge. What did you think of the play to Christian? It was great. He did say it was something Matt dialed up on the sideline again. Something they didn't really plan for, but based on the way that they were playing or whatever. This isn't Jordan, I'm just elaborating. Based on the way that they were playing, I guess Matt just kind of drew something up real quick. How did the offensive line play today? They did a great job. How do you feel after these 2 performances? I felt good today. Do you feel like you got into a groove? Yeah, we just got to keep building. What was it like to watch the defense? It was awesome. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We gotta come up with better questions than let's pick a thing that went well and ask him how he felt about the thing that went well. You know what I mean? Like there has to be whatever. I'm whatever. How important is it for the team to show up for Romeo? We're a family. You know what I mean? Like what do you want here? You already know what his answer is going to be, so why are you asking? The only thing in this entire Q&A that I derive any value from was the question, was that hard count something you focused on at practice? And he says, yes, it's critical in our offense every week. We did a good job. Now, again, the way he answered that was kind of like, yeah, like it's important every week, so whatever. But I don't know. We can kind of take away from that, yeah, they worked on that real hard or something. I don't know. So, didn't get a ton from that. You know what I mean, though? Like, I mean, I always said I could never do their job. I couldn't. I can't think of things to say. I don't know good questions to ask. I'd be bad at that job. I'm not curious and inquisitive enough to do that. It's why like, I cannot handle small talk. I don't know what to say. So I always just repeat back what people say to me. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's up? What was your name? Oh, I'm Ryan. What was yours? I'm Steve. Oh, hey, Steve. So, what do you do for a living? Oh, yeah. How about you? You got any kids? Oh, yeah. What about you? That's it. That's all I got. And then I wait for it to end and for them to walk away. That's all I got. But if the job is like, so the pass rush looked better today, how important was that for you guys in this win? 3 turnovers today. That's pretty crucial. How big was that for you guys today in this win over the Cardinals? How great was it having all your receivers back? Notice that your rookies have been playing more snaps every single week. How big has it been for you to have them step up as the season has gone on? You know what I mean? Like, you know the answer. Why are you asking? Anyways, all right. First play to Matt LaFleur is what? How do you feel about playing 4 quarters of complimentary football? Oh, my Lord. Oh, boy. How does it feel to have a vision for the game and then have it play out? Don't ask questions that start with how does it feel. How about that for a rule? Here's a question. What did you do against Kyler to keep him in check after he ran in circles around the 49ers? Just said our guys played disciplined football, all 11 playing as one, which is key against a player of his caliber. Now, the answer is a nothing answer, but at least it was a good pitch. You know what I mean? It was a good try. Good try to get an answer that matters. Jordan said the touchdown to Watson wasn't in the game plan. What gave you the confidence to call it? Matt said it's part of our system. We noticed how they're playing certain routes, so we made a sideline adjustment. The players executed it perfectly. Again, that's great to hear because how many years? Do you remember? And it almost got to the point where it was like, okay, guys, like it's getting a little out of hand with how much Packer fans talked about it. How many years did we talk about the lack of adjustments? There's no adjustments. Where are the adjustments? Why don't they make adjustments? There are no halftime adjustments. There's no any adjustments ever. And Matt LaFleur's like, oh yeah, we just noticed that they were doing something, and so then we attacked that thing. Like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I thought that was against the rules. Mike McCarthy told us that was against the rules. I don't know. I love McCarthy. I just, he was a great coach and all. I got to make fun of him a little bit. That's all. Because that was freaking annoying. That guy never changed anything in his life. I don't think he's ever changed his freaking underwear, dude. Remember when he was like, we completely tore down we threw out the playbook and rebuilt it from the ground up, and they built the exact same offense. That was great. How did Keyshawn Nixon's return and Christian Watson's big play flip the second half? Guys, my Lord. What did it mean to have Romeo get involved? Oh, here we go. What was the thinking behind the defensive back rotation today? We feel like we have a lot of good players, so we wanted to get them all involved. Now, we kind of knew that based on what we watched, but it's good to get confirmation from the coach that is exactly what they're thinking. It's not something that we just missed or I didn't think about or whatever. Sometimes that happens. Usually it's very obvious and everybody calls me on it because I'm stupid. But it is interesting to see how many different guys get rotated. At the start of the game, it seemed to be, okay, it looks like Keyshawn's on the boundary, Jair's on the other side, and Bullards are slot, and boom, there you go. But that wasn't the case entirely the whole time. And on top of that, we didn't know that Bullard would be rotating in at safety and all, the whole picture. And on top of that, we don't really know that that's the way it's going to stay. Kind of thought maybe it was going to stay that way with Williams at safety. Turned out that wasn't the case. Now maybe they'll, we'll see. They're playing with it. It's kind of like Jordan Morgan a little bit, just teasing it, putting him in there. Didn't go great, but we really want it to be a thing, so we're going to keep pushing it. Why has Evan Williams always seemed to be in a position to make a play? He says he's a smart football player, great instincts, which we saw when scouting him. He takes the plan and executes it well. Fair enough. How does your defense keep forcing so many turnovers? Might seem like a bad question. I don't think it is, though. It's a credit to the players and the staff. We stress the importance of the ball, and they're doing a great job of attacking it. And again, it sounds childish, but as we all have heard since we were little, practice makes perfect. And, we've heard about emphasizing, but usually when we hear emphasizing, it's just words, right? It'll be, I don't want to pick on anybody in particular, Joe Barry or Mike Pettin or anybody. It could be on the offensive side also. We hear about, the importance of this, and we stress the importance of this. And it's like, yeah, but what does that mean practically? You mean like you have meetings, and in those meetings, you say, guys, this is really important, and we really got to focus on this. Because that's useless. The bottom line is, as I said, there's only so much time that you have with these guys to practice. And so you have to pick and choose what you emphasize. And you cannot say we're going to emphasize turnovers and not practice it. And I understand why you don't maybe spend a bunch of time on drills, specifically like punching the ball out and everything, because that's less time to focus on other things that are going to be more like every down, every play, as opposed to this one rare chance that maybe you get every 3 games to come in and punch the ball out. And so you just figure, I'll just tell them it's important, and then we'll just practice the other stuff. Well, it doesn't work super well. You become a leading team in pre-snap motion. How important is it to your offense? By the way, the other thing I love about really good questions is when you ask a question based on something that I didn't even know. Just casually drop something like, oh, dang, I didn't even know that. He doesn't even have to answer it, and I just learned something. Leading team in pre-snap motion, how important is that to your offense? It's been a part of our system for a long time, but we also give Jordan the freedom to check to what he wants. He does a great job with that. Did the pass protection in the first half force the Cardinals to start blitzing? He said probably. If a quarterback has too much time, it frustrates the defense. Our O-line did a great job, and our D contained Kyler Murray well, too. We talked about that early, how they blitzed more than they ever really have. And that does make sense, because they were talking about that, like Jordan had all day. And so what happened? They dial up the blitzing, which is frustrating because it's like the Packers are constantly being blitzed over and over and over again. It's like, well, you know what? If the Packers offensive line ends up being a really good offensive line and nobody's getting home with their base, they have no choice but to blitz a lot. So maybe we just got to get used to that. I don't know. Lions scored 40-plus points in 2 games. First time since I didn't quite see. I think it was like 62 or something crazy. I got a couple NFC North things I want to talk about, but let's get through this. Do you still have confidence in your kicker after he missed another kick? Yes, we still have confidence. He responded by making his next kick. Now, I don't know. I mean, he's not going to say no. but he could say something. You know what I mean? Sometimes coach speak, you never say the thing you're not supposed to say, but you can say something. Something along the lines of, certainly we have to do better. He knows he needs to be better. Narveson is our kicker, and we're going to keep working at it. That's a no answer. That's a we don't have confidence. So yeah, I'm genuinely worried that he means it when he says yes. But at the same time, it's not up to him. He's the coach. All he can do is work with the guys that he's given. Obviously, he can go to the GM and say, please get this freaking guy off my team and hope that Gutekunst listens. But at the same time, I mean, this is your kicker. And he's your kicker until Gutekunst tells you he's not your kicker anymore. So it does no good to say anything other than yes. We have confidence. We've worked with him. We're going to keep working with him. We're going to keep trying. We're going to do the best we can. What else can he do? He doesn't decide who his kickers are. Now, I'm sure the special teams coach has a decent amount of input. And so if the head coach and the special teams coordinator go to him and say, this isn't working, we have to do something else, maybe that's enough, force to apply. But, again, I don't know how much they'd be willing to kind of cross that line. I don't know. And then finally, is Jordan moving the way you want to see with a couple of runs, getting in the way without putting himself in danger? He said he looks great, playing with a lot of confidence. He threw the ball well today. And I agree. And that's another thing, too, where you start to worry and you say, okay, the first time back, injury. I get it. Second time back, now it's just kind of the second time back, and also the third game where he didn't look good, and that makes me a little bit nervous, right? But for him to come in and play pretty dominant, again, it was a little slow start, but we're talking like a drive and a half before he started to pick it up. Doesn't mean he was perfect throughout, but it was as good as I would ever ask Jordan to be. So that definitely is, from my perspective, from a fan perspective, that's gives me a lot of confidence that what we said last year or at the start of this year would be the case, and that is we're not going to see an entire half of this team being bad, right? We certainly got nervous, but this is a confidence builder. All right, NFC North, real quick before we get out of here, because it's ridiculous. The NFC North, with the Vikings on a bye, not only went undefeated, but beat their opponents 116-38. 116-38. Think about that. 3 games, averaging 38 points. That's like barely over 10 points per opponent. None of them got to 20, but maybe even crazier than that is that through 6 weeks, the NFC North's record is 17-5. The NFC North is tied. There's a 3-way tie for second place. Another way to put that is there's a 3-way tie for last place. Well, it's actually not a 3-way tie because Detroit had a bye week, so they're 4-1. But there's a 2-way tie, I guess, for last place between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears at 4-2. 4-2 is the number one team in Washington. It's the best record in the NFC East. It's the best record in the NFC South. It's better than every record in the NFC West. It's the best record in the AFC North, and it's better than all teams in the AFC East. The Green Bay Packers are 4-2, one of the better teams right now in the NFL, and they're tied for last in the division. And no, I'm not really worried about that. Of course, bragging rights, and you wish it was different or whatever, but no, the Packers look like a good team. They have a good record, and the NFC North is just beating the crap out of everybody. And again, as much as I look at the Bears and go, yeah, Caleb's not going to look that good against a tougher defense. And Minnesota, if they ever play a good team, I think maybe you start to see the cracks because Darnold is really starting to fall apart. He's had 2 really bad games in a row via PFF. I don't know if that can hold up. Detroit lost Hutchinson. Goff kind of, I don't know what his grades are, but he looked pretty iffy to me in this game. Not the entire game. Obviously, there was a ton of great plays, but some of them are like pretty ugly. I'm just saying, like, I feel like, once we go through the gauntlet, play some tougher teams or whatever, which is weird to say because I'm sure Dallas or Detroit would say, dude, Dallas is a good team. It's like, I don't know, dude. I just watched them and I don't know about that. I know what their record said, but that looks like a crap team to me. But we'll see. I maybe the true test is when they play each other. You know, let's see Vikings, Lions, Packers, Bears play each other. But this has got to be a pretty historic situation. I don't know exactly how to look it up, but I will be poking around to see when the last time the worst team through 6 weeks in a division was 4-2, because that's ridiculous. But we will leave it at that. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye.